He died fasting and, in that pivotal moment, revealed a truth that 99% of Christians are unaware of. Heaven is not moved by the pain of the stomach, but by the surrender of the heart. Now, listen to what he experienced on the other side. My name is Thales Rivenhart. I am 45 years old, and I have shared 21 wonderful years of marriage with Anna. Together we have raised 2 teenagers, Samuel and Clara, who are the center of my universe. I reside in Ashford, Kentucky, a charming small town where everyone knows each other and the doors remain open as a symbol of trust and community. My work as a computer technician in a local public school allows me to contribute to the future of our youth while enjoying the warmth of this place I call home. It wasn't anything glamorous, but it was enough to cover my expenses most of the time. On Sundays, without fail, I would dress in my well-pressed shirt, adopt an expression of sincere devotion, and head to church. There, I was considered an example in prayer, fasting, and commitment. Many admired me and said I was a man of faith, but few could imagine what was really happening inside me. Behind the memorized verses and the passionate prayers, there hid a frustrated soul. A man who was fasting was like someone who persistently knocked on a closed door, longing for God to open it soon and tell him something, anything, but he always encountered silence, that overwhelming silence. I started fasting one day, then 3, then 7. I tried the Daniel fast, the partial fast, the complete fast. I even went on just juice and water for 21 days, convinced that it would speed up my journey to heaven. It was as if I were trying to force God to move, as if my effort could compel him to respond. The strangest thing of all is that the more I fasted, the more distant I felt from God. I don't say this lightly but sincerely. Despite my efforts to fast and pray, the feeling that he was not listening to me grew stronger. I began to question myself. Am I the problem? Am I lacking something? So I decided to intensify my efforts. I started fasting on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I shared verses in my statuses and posted phrases like, "Fasting is not an option, it is a weapon." However, despite all these actions, my soul felt increasingly dry. From the outside, everything seemed to be in its place, but inside, I only longed to understand where I truly was. It was a Thursday night when I made the decision that would change my life. I would begin a new fast of 14 days, only with water and juice. It would be a radical challenge, but I was convinced that this time God would speak to me. However, I did not know that heaven had very different plans for me. On the morning of the 10th day, I woke up feeling weaker than usual, but I decided to ignore it, thinking it was just part of the process. That night, I attended church, and upon returning home, I felt exhausted. After taking a shower, it was in that ordinary moment that everything changed. The last thing I remember is a sharp pain in my stomach and the coldness of the bathroom floor. Then a silence. But it was not the same silence as before. It was a different silence, one that allowed me to see what I had never understood and to hear what I had spent my life trying to force. I did not awaken like someone who opens their eyes after fainting. It was something different. It was as if my consciousness had been transported to another place, without a body, without weight. There, time seemed to have stopped. Everything was calm, but it was not a painful silence. It was a silence that contained something, as if everything around me was waiting for something to happen. Inside me, I knew I was no longer on earth. Curiously, I did not feel fear. I had always thought that if I died, I would experience fear or despair. But there was a deep peace that made me stand still, trying to understand. It was then that I felt a presence. I didn't see bright lights or angels. I simply realized that someone was with me. It wasn't just anyone. It was the one I had cried out to so many times, for whom I had fasted for days and sought with such effort. God was there, and although I could not see his face or his form, I knew it. Then I heard his voice. It was not loud, but it was firm. When he pronounced my name, everything inside me collapsed. There was no judgment, no reproaches. There was only truth. It was as if he saw me completely and yet called me affectionately. He spoke to me simply, saying that he had come there with a heart full of questions. And it was true. I had always sought answers through fasting. I believed that the hungrier I was, the closer I would be to God. For me, fasting was almost a trade. I offered my effort and my deprivations, hoping that he would act in return. God knew it. He said exactly what I could never admit, not even to myself. That I fasted hoping for something, but rarely did I do it just to be with him. That moved me. I began to remember my fasts, treating them like keys. I fasted to heal, to gain direction, to change my financial life, to face spiritual challenges. I posted impactful phrases on social media like "fasting moves heaven." But there, before God, I realized that the one who needed to move was me. Because the sky was never far away. I was the one searching in the wrong direction. God told me with a calmness that disarmed me, "You fast like someone knocking on the door of a safe, but I am a father, and a father cannot be opened with effort. A father is embraced with devotion." He didn't know what to say. For the first time in my life, his silence made sense. He wasn't ignoring me. He simply didn't know how to approach it. Then, he said something that made me cry, not with tears in my eyes, but with my soul. "You wanted me to speak, but you weren't quiet inside." There I understood it. I was fasting, but I spent my days distracted, anxious, waiting for a supernatural experience, never stopping to think about the simplest thing, being with him. I wasn't fasting out of love. I was fasting to achieve results. At that moment, everything began to change. Not because of a mystical revelation, but because I clearly saw something I had ignored for years. I was seeking answers from a God who only wanted to be my father. He did not desire my hunger, he wanted my attention. After that silence filled with truth, God began to teach me. But he did not do it like a teacher with a blackboard and chalk. He spoke like a father to a tired son, without haste, without formulas, just with clarity. And with love, he said to me, "You think that fasting is not eating, but fasting is not just that. Fasting is exchanging something important for something even more valuable." Then he showed me a scene, a 10-year-old boy in the playground with his father, holding an ice cream in his hand, happy. But upon seeing his father smile, he stopped, looked at the ice cream and threw it away. He sat on his father's lap and remained there in silence. The father hugged him tightly, and God told me, "He left pleasure to gain presence." That is fasting. That destroyed me. I fasted for goals, like someone completing a marathon, but I had never done it out of longing. I had never stopped eating just to sit in Dad's lap and stay there. I always wanted something in return, and God knew it. He continued to show me images. An elderly woman, alone in a humble kitchen, who took the plate of food from the table, knelt down and softly said, "Today I just want to hear your voice." There was little food, but a lot of love. And in that moment, the sky poured down. She was fasting for love, not for results. Then I saw a young man who said he was fasting because he had quit Instagram. God looked at me with a sad smile and said, "He thinks he is fasting, but he is just resting from the noise. That is good, it is beautiful, but it is not fasting. It is a purpose, and the purpose has value, but do not confuse it with what breaks chains." It was then that he showed me something I will never forget. A torn heart, divided between God and miracles, answers, status. And he said, "When the heart is divided, fasting does not arise because it is not a hunger from above. It is a hunger disguised as earthly." That hit me straight in the heart. I began to understand that fasting is not about leaving the stomach empty, but about leaving the ego at peace. It is about clearing the table of desire so that only God can sit with you, and the only conversation there is love. It ended with a phrase that still resonates within me. When one fasts only with the body, heaven remains silent. But when one fasts with the heart, I arrive even before the prayer is finished. After God showed me what true fasting was, there was a time of silence, but it was not a silence of disdain. It was a silence filled with love and understanding. It was as if he were waiting for me to absorb every word. And in that moment, the fasts I had undertaken began to surface in my mind. The counts, the calendars, the challenges, the posts with verses about sacrifice, the fervent prayers. All of this presented itself to me with a painful clarity. It was then that God spoke again, this time with a simplicity that shattered me. "You have done many things well, but you have overlooked the most important thing." Those words resonated within me because deep down, I knew exactly what it was about. For years, I had approached fasting as if it were a spiritual duty, enduring hunger and holding on tightly. But deep down, I was trying to make God move, as if heaven were a closed system that only responded when I pressed the right buttons. God knew it, and He didn't come to humiliate me, but to show me the truth in His way. He revealed to me that the hardest part of fasting was not what I stopped eating, but the reason why I did it. Then He showed me something that broke my heart. A kind of list with many letters, all handwritten. Each letter represented a prayer I had spoken during a fast. Some asked for healing, others sought direction. Some cried out for answers, change, or liberation. All were there. God looked at me and said, "I confirm that tenderness." I read each one, but none were just to be with me. There was always a request, never just the search for His presence. At that moment, I was left speechless, because it was true. I did not remember a single occasion when I had fasted just to love God. In all cases, there was a purpose, a cause, an emergency. He looked at me and said, "You sought me with discipline, but not with longing. You expected me to speak quickly, to heal quickly, to change quickly. But I am not a button you press when you are hungry. I am a father, and a father comes close when he sees that his child just wants to be near." That explanation shattered me inside because everything was so simple, and at the same time I had never seen it that way. My fasting wasn't wrong, but it was misdirected. I was fasting like someone trying to unlock heaven, and God just wanted to be desired, not forced. Before concluding, He said one last phrase that stayed etched in my mind. "If you had fasted just to love me, I would have spoken to you on the first day." In that moment, I understood that heaven was never far away. I simply never arrived with the right heart. And now, perhaps for the first time, I was truly close to Him. I was still processing everything He had shown me when God continued. It was no longer about what I had done wrong, but about what He had always wanted from me. It was as if He opened His heart to me, without accusations, just with the desire to teach me to see things differently. He began by saying, "The sky doesn't move when the stomach hurts. The sky moves when the heart surrenders." This phrase resonated within me. I had always thought that the intensity of fasting was what made the difference. Days without food, a weakened body, long prayers. But God did not seem impressed by any of this. He wanted something simpler, deeper, something I had never really offered Him. It was then that He showed me an image. A father sitting in the living room reading, and a small child running in, turning off the television, leaving the video game, and simply sitting on his lap without asking for anything, tilting his head and remaining silent. The father closes the book, hugs his son, and smiles. "This is the kind of fasting that touches heaven," said God, "when you set aside what distracts you just to embrace me, when there is no list of requests or anxiety for an answer, just longing." He explained to me that fasting is not a task. It is not something we do for God to do something in return. Fasting is when you tell your flesh, "Today you do not lead. Today the one who has a voice is the Spirit, and the Spirit wants to listen to me." Then He used another image. He showed me a woman in the kitchen. It was early. She had made coffee but did not drink it. Instead, she folded a tablecloth over the table, opened the Bible, and began to talk to God as if she were conversing with an old friend. Nothing rehearsed. It wasn't beautiful. It was just truth. She said, "Lord, today I want to listen more than talk." God looked at me and said, "She does not fast for miracles. She fasts for love. And when love is the motivation, I draw near to her even before she finishes praying." Before we continue, just one request. Please subscribe to our channel. It really helps us keep going. Before moving on, just one request. Subscribe to the channel. That helps us a lot to keep going. It was then that He revealed something to me that seemed like a secret. The fast that touches the heavens doesn't start in the stomach. It starts in the room, when you close the door, silence everything, and give me priority. When the time you set aside for eating becomes delivery time. The food only leaves the plate, but the delivery must come from the heart. It reminded me how many times I had fasted while running back and forth, my mind full, trying to find a place for God among the tasks. You fasted, but your heart was occupied. How could you expect to hear me if the noise inside you was greater than the silence between us? In that moment, everything became clear. What God wanted was not my hunger, but my attention. The sky does not move with effort, it is propelled by communion. And when communion comes first, the answers are a consequence, not a reward. Before concluding, he said with a smile, "Son, you can stop eating for 20 days, but if you do not dedicate your time, your silence, your listening to me, the only thing you will achieve is losing weight." I lowered my head, and for the first time in years, I felt free. After everything it showed me, a reflex thought arose in my mind. What now? What about those who cannot fast? What happens to those who have health issues? What about those who work 2 jobs, have small children, and barely find time to stop? I didn't need to ask because God had already answered me before. He said, "Do you think I still keep track of the hours you spent without eating? I am counting how much you desire to be with me." This revelation brought me a peace I didn't know I needed. For a long time, I had believed that fasting was a matter of performance, that it was only worth it if it was long, difficult, and radical. But God showed me that it wasn't about that. He explained that each child has their own capacity, and as a father, He does not expect the same from everyone. Know our limits. There are those who can fast all day, others who can only skip 1 meal, and some who, for physical reasons, cannot refrain from eating. I know, I do not judge them. I only seek the truth. God showed me a simple scene, a woman with diabetes, preparing a light broth and sitting at the table with an open Bible. Instead of punishing herself for not being able to fast like others, she said, "Lord, this is my time with you, and this is what I can offer today, but it is yours." God smiled when showing me that. She gave what she could, and since it was sincere, He received it as if it were everything. Then He spoke to me about purposes. He said they are not fasts, but they also have their value. When someone decides to give up something they enjoy, like coffee, social media, or soap operas, it is not the renunciation that moves the spiritual world, but rather what opens the way to listen to myself better. He showed me that purpose prepares the soul, reduces noise, and tunes the heart. But fasting, true fasting, is when the Spirit takes control. If you can't fast now, then make a sincere purpose, one that costs something. It doesn't have to be huge, it just has to be real. At that moment, it reminded me of how many times I had set a goal for myself, and by the second day I had already forgotten it. He said, "The problem is not what you deliver, but the seriousness with which you keep your promises. The sky listens to your intentions even before you act." Finally, it revealed to me something that seemed simple, but was key to my understanding. What is done little with truth weighs more in the sky than what is done a lot just out of obligation. At that moment, I understood that anyone can start, that there is no magic formula, that God does not demand a perfect sacrifice. He only wants sincerity, consistency, and a heart that, even when stumbling, always returns. After all, a thought quietly arose within me. Does fasting, even with a healthy heart, really make any difference in heaven? God knew. Without saying a word, He simply demonstrated it. Before me appeared a dark room. It seemed like a house. Inside, there was a woman praying on her knees. It was dawn, and she was shivering from the cold. Next to her, a pot with half-cooked rice on the fire. I realized that she had decided not to have dinner. That was her fast. But what God wanted to show me was not just her, but what was happening around her while she prayed. I saw chains breaking in the room, a spirit of confusion retreating from the house, and a light igniting within her, a light that no candle or lamp on earth could produce. God spoke firmly and sweetly. When someone fasts with truth, the spiritual world moves. The enemy loses access, darkness loses its argument, and I draw near. Then He showed me another man, a simple middle-aged man, sitting in the last pew of an empty church. I was fasting in silence, just with a glass of water. I didn't talk much or make noise, but in that silence my soul said, I want the Lord more than anything. God showed me heaven. I saw angels approaching. I saw a movement as if a response was being released. I saw a glow that has no translation. I understood that fasting does not compel God to act. Fasting removes everything that hinders, opens up space, and arranges the altar. God explained it simply. Fasting purifies the air, eliminates excess, and silences the noise. When you truly fast, it's like saying, Lord, come in. This is clean. This is only yours. It was then that he revealed something to me that surprised me. There are people who have never received an answer because they have never made space. They ask me for direction, but I don't clear the path for them. They ask me for healing, but I don't take away their pride. They ask me for intimacy, but I don't silence their soul. I stayed there, absorbing it, because it was true. Most of my prayers were said in a disordered ground. I asked, but I never cleaned the house. I just wanted God to intervene and do the work, but there was no space. God ended up saying, when someone fasts with a surrendered heart, not only do I respond, but I stay. And where I stay, hell does not remain. At that moment I understood. True fasting is not about seeking miracles, but about preparing the ground for God himself to come and dwell. After God showed me all this, the value of sincere fasting, what happens in the invisible and what it truly seeks, I was left in silence. Not for lack of questions, but because for the first time I felt that everything inside me was at peace. It was then that he approached. I saw no footsteps. I saw no face. But I felt as if the whole world was spinning around him. Even so, he spoke to me as if he were sitting next to a tired child. There is no rush, at no cost at all. What makes me happiest is not that you fast for many days, but that you return to my lap, even if only for a few minutes. I don't want your performance, I want you. That wasn't just nice, it was true. For years, I was the one who fasted to be approved, to prove that I was spiritual. Now I heard from God himself that he never expected an impossible effort. I was just waiting for a present heart. You don't need to impress me, he continued. You just need to remind me upon waking, while eating, while breathing. Fasting is simply a way of saying, Father, today the Son desires you more than anything. I wanted to ask how to keep this alive, how not to forget all of this when I return. But before doubt could take shape, he replied, the soul forgets what is forced, but forever retains what is lived with love. You don't have to promise me that you will fast for 21 days. Just start with one, but do it out of love. Talk to me. Don't pressure me until the end of the list. His tone was calm, but each word carried the weight of eternity. It reminded me that life is made up of small decisions. It is not the time without food that transforms, but the time with it. And that even on busy days, a moment of silence can be more powerful than hours of empty fasting. Before letting me go, he told me something I will never forget. When there is a hunger without listening to me, you only feel hunger. But when there is a longing, I arrive before the hunger. In that moment, I no longer wanted to make any more promises. I just wanted to start over. It was as if someone gently pushed me back, nothing abrupt or frightening, just a strange feeling, as if I were returning from a place I never wanted to leave. And in the next second, everything turned dark. Then came the sounds. Metallic noises, hurried voices, a persistent beeping. I slowly opened my eyes. The hospital lights blinded me for a moment. Beside me was Anna, my wife, holding my hand so tightly that she seemed afraid to let it go. His eyes were red, but he kept looking at me, as if he needed to confirm that I was really there. I took a deep breath, weak, confused, but alive. I heard someone say, "He has returned." Regular heartbeats. She was a doctor, and there were nurses running everywhere. Then I knew that I had been dead for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, a cardiac arrest caused by a collapse in the stomach, a direct consequence of prolonged fasting, an ulcer that had ruptured. So simple, real, mortal. No one understood how I came back, but I knew. It wasn't because of the juice, nor the effort, nor my dedication. I came back because God still had something to do with me, and even more, something to do in me. In the following days, I had to be hospitalized. Only liquids, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. Every spoonful of soup felt like an act of worship. Every sip of water was an opportunity to give thanks. Hunger was now different. The first night out of the ICU, I asked for silence in the room. Anna looked at me and understood. I asked them to leave me alone. The nurse left, and the atmosphere became calm. There, without an open Bible, without praises, without a prayer list, I simply closed my eyes and said, "Father, now I understand." In that moment, I did not cry out of despair or exaggerated emotion. I cried like a child who has spent his life trying to win a love he has always had. That was it. I spent decades trying to reach the sky, while the sky just wanted to embrace me. After coming home, nothing seemed the same. The kitchen, the furniture, even the rooms felt smaller. But what had changed the most was inside me. Anna realized it in the first few hours. I, who used to strive to appear strong in my faith, now preferred silence. My children, Samuel and Clara, found it strange when I stopped using cliches and sat with them at the table, looking them in the eyes and asking them how they were really doing. In no hurry, without a cell phone. The following Sunday, I went to church. No one knew for sure what had happened. Some said it was a miracle, others that I was lucky. It didn't matter. For the first time, I entered that place without thinking about what I was going to show. I joined because I wanted to be close to God, that's all. I deactivated social media for an indefinite period, not to make a resolution, but because I understood how much I was trying to show dedication instead of living it. I maintained the fasting schedule, not because fasting has lost its value, but because now I want to fast with the truth and not with a timetable. Nowadays, I still fast, but only when the Spirit calls me. And when I do it, it is to silence, to listen, to clean the room and set the table. And if my soul is too noisy to fast with purity, I simply sit and say, "Father, today I just want to be with you," and that is enough. Sometimes, people come to me asking for advice about fasting. They want to know how many days, how many meals they can and cannot eat, and I always respond the same way. Fasting is not a method, it is a place. And in that place, God does not enter through sacrifice, He enters through longing. If I could go back in time, I would not do longer fasts. I would do more sincere fasts. And if you, like me, are tired of trying to force heaven to respond, stop. Right now, close the bedroom door, breathe, and say, "Father, I didn't come to ask you for anything. I just came because I miss you." If that's all you can say, it's enough. Because, as I learned in the most unexpected way, heaven moves when the heart surrenders. What an incredible and transformative story. The Bible reminds us in Isaiah, chapter 58, verse 6. "Is this not the fast that I chose? To loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, to let the oppressed go free, and to break every yoke." Thank you very much for sharing this profound experience with us. And to you who have made it this far, may the blessings of heaven fill your life with peace, truth, and communion. We'll see you in the next video.